well, you know, it was virtuous that he said he didn't know, but you wonder whether or not that was actually true, right? Whether he, okay, right? Is that,
yeah?
Do I have that right? Yeah. So it's interesting that you said that. You know, it's almost like you're alluding to like a declarative beliefs versus implicit beliefs. Does that sound about right? Are you familiar with those terminology, with that term?
Those terminologies, isms. Are you familiar with those terminology isms? Terminology orgasms.
Clarify. What do you mean?
So like declarative beliefs would be what we declare to the world, like what we would say we believe at any given moment. They usually kind of represent, like we very rarely would declare that we're terrible people. You know what I mean? We usually, when we declare what we believe, it usually revolves around what we would like to be, like our like how we want to be represented, and you know how we want to be viewed by other people, stuff like that, right? Whereas our implicit beliefs are more revealed; they have to be inferred through behavior, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Like so, if a person, you know, you've all and everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say like you've seen people who would declare that they believe one thing, but then prove through their actions they don't actually believe what they're saying, right?
Yeah, we get that a lot, actually. As people who talk to Christians, you know, that tends to be one of the one of the tropes, as it were, that we come across quite a bit. So this is a video that is on the line, and this is Owen of the Telltale Atheist channel. He's pretty great. I really have enjoyed his content for quite some time. He was how I discovered so many insane people that it's just awesome. You know, that was how I learned about Kat Kerr. And I was like, I can't even right now, I can't even imagine a world where I didn't know about Kat Kerr, you know, and I owe that to Owen. So that's pretty cool. Also, Forrest is there, and he's awesome. One of these days he's gonna forget and write all over his face with the pen that he keeps on putting in his mouth and stuff, and it's gonna be awesome. One day you'll see. One of these days it's gonna happen. I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna X-Man force will that to happen some point. You'll see. Anyway, we're gonna get into it. I'm Brentley. This is Punk Apostate. Let's go. Let's go. So we got this. All right. So let's do this.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Okay, sure. We all know that. And the thing is it's easy to spot that in other people, but when we're the ones doing it, it's not necessarily so easy to spot.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I would even go as far as to say is that if a person believes themselves qualified to even determine whether or not that's true for themselves, they were actually overestimating their own power, if you will. You know what I mean? Their own ability to do that. It's sort of you know, one of the qualities of being in a delusion is not knowing that you're in a delusion, right? So anyway, right. So okay. I would say that you know, like, so and this is an honest question, you know, like, do you think it's possible that you also maybe when you say, well, I don't know, like that you actually
drinking liquid death? Hell yeah. That's awesome. I love liquid death. Stuff is really good. What's up, Ellen? How you doing? So I really had to think about the poll question as I'm that you really have to think about like everything when you're high, even stuff that you know that doesn't mean anything, you know, like what roundness even is. How does that even work as a concept? And why is everything round? You know, planets, eyeballs, what is going on here? You know,
kind of feel like, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's an honest question.
Yeah. 100%. That is absolutely possible about any number of different things. I'll tell you this. I'm very confident, 99% sure that the God of the Bible that, you know, sent his son to die on the cross and all that other stuff is not real. So I will say that I do know that with a great deal of confidence. Can I say
Gotcha.
for sure that there is no God. Not with that much confidence, but I would say,
See, this
I
is
don't
what
know, 20.
I feel like you give way too much away when people do this. Could I say with confidence that I know there is no any God? Because, like, what do you mean by that? You mean like anything that could be defined as a God by somebody? Like, what do you mean? Like, there's gods are specific things, dude. You don't get to have this ambiguous God. It just irritates me that that is something that theists kind of use is to make atheists seem like they're irrational or something. They're like, yeah, but you say that there's none of them. Like that fixes it. And you're like, oh, so that's an irrational claim. Going, oh, there's not any of them. And it's like, dude, they're all made up by people that are very specific. Thor has a hammer. If the thing that you think exists, if the thing that exists doesn't have a hammer, it's not Thor. And that's a specific God. You know what I mean? And same works with Jesus or any other deities, dude. You know, that's how it goes. Anyway.
30%. And the reason I say that is because there are other better explanations that I would be more ready to believe before I believed that a God like sparked the universe into existence, for example. Like maybe there's like just a natural process that we're just unaware of right now. So yeah, I would say that I've kind of ranked it in likelihood in my mind, and I have fully ruled out certain things. But generally,
All right.
I believe that saying I don't know is virtuous about anything, not just about this subject.
Yeah, well, and you know, I'd agree with that, and I'd say take it even farther. Whether it's virtuous or not, it's actually probably more likely true, right?
Yeah.
So, and I know, but I find that when I take that position, the only time it's actually effective in a debate is if the other person is claiming to know. Like, so if basically if both people are saying I don't know, then it's like kind of a non-starter. It's just then there's nowhere to go from here, right? So. You know, debating, I take the position of,
I mean,
yeah. So I'm firmly convinced there is a God. You're firmly convinced there is no God.
Because, like, we can both be honest and say we don't, like, it depends on what you mean when you use the word no, like, no, what that means. Like, most people, when they use the word no, like, I don't know, it is have enough evidence to be able to demonstrate that it is true. A lot of times I'll I kind of like the philosophical position where knowledge is a belief that happens to be true, right? It is a belief that is also true. Now, whether or not you can know that it's true, that's all, and it's kind of just gets you into that philosophical conversation about knowledge. But as far as like, what he's talking about, you can have like a set of evidence and then both go, I don't know, let's look at the evidence together. I think this would lead somebody to this conclusion because of X, Y, and Z pieces of evidence. And they can go, okay, well, I've got these pieces of evidence. You can see like who's got more evidence and then go from there. Like what I feel like that's what everybody really does need to do. We need to all kind of just acknowledge that's kind of the best we've got at this point. And I definitely think the atheists are going to be the ones to take it home every time because they actually give a shit about evidence and aren't constantly caught lying to themselves and saying scripts that they just have memorized because they gone to church and everything. And so they got these pre-written answers in their brain to like all these to all these questions. And half the time, the pre-written answers that they have in their brain that they use for answers are all fallacies, just all like blatant fallacies too. Like, I mean, have you heard Ray Comfort? Holy shit, the dude's a fallacy factory.
Right. Okay. So from that position now, so I'll tell you, I was atheist up until I was about 30 years old. That's actually, and then, and I had all this. I loved arguing with theists about it. Right, it was mostly all Christians, and somewhere along the way, some things happened. I don't really care to get into what those things are, but I would just say that they were experiences that
those things.
I don't believe that there's anybody who could have had them that wouldn't come away believing that there's something, right? And I would say that at first wasn't necessarily like God, because I was really opposed to that idea, and then it started off being just some weird stuff. I don't really want to get too much into it, but as I started to try to investigate what it was that was going on, eventually I just said, you know what?
Because this is one of those things. I had an experience that I couldn't explain, and then I was like, God, there's got to be a God, because now I couldn't explain that thing that happened. So, that means there had to be a God or something, right?
I'm just done. I'm just going to call this thing God. I don't know what it is, but whatever the hell it is, it's it's something that I did not believe could exist prior to these experiences that I've had. Okay. Now, from there, I now try to puzzle this out. How could I have been so wrong? I mean, I sort of had existence pretty figured out, or so I thought. And I'm like, okay, so I start to puzzle out a logical answer for this. Now, I don't believe that this logical deduction could ever lead somebody to God. I believe that in order to have these types of that type of belief, you need to have certain experiences, or at least I did. I don't know. People who just believe, I don't really get that. It's weird to me.
I don't even understand exactly what he's saying. You can't believe it unless you have certain experiences. So you can't just be confronted with evidence. It has to be an experience. But
anyways, so I start to puzzle this out, and then I basically go back to the very first question that we would ask, about existence, right? If we're talking,
he's got another one. He's got a different flavor. Is he selling Liquid Death? Is that like his sponsor? Is that what's going on here? Because that is a kick-ass sponsor. I'm going to be honest. Liquid Death is great. They consistently have awesome PR tactics that I love. And and Fat Mike is actually one of the contributor, whatever it is. I can't remember what exactly. It was like the second tier contributors, or people that own stock in it or whatever.
Existential philosophy, and be like, where did everything come from? You know what I mean? How did it all happen?
Yeah,
how did existence happen? Right.
Well, it all came from Narnia, of course.
And it's like, I can't really say that I know how that occurred, but it seemed to me that, it's like almost dichotomous, whether either something intended it or not, right? Either something intended it or not.
That is actually a true dichotomy. Yep. That's correct. Yeah. Either something intended it or not. Yeah, you can go with that. That's a true dichotomy, I'd say.
Either and since it appears to me, when I think about the systems built upon systems that all work in concert to create many functions that seem to be self-perpetual, that operate with an insane amount of economy, like the machine so sophisticated that we couldn't even come close to replicating it on a scale so massive that even if we could replicate it, we couldn't replicate it on that scale. It just seems more likely to me that something.
Well, we don't have millions of years to work with. We've kind of just been developing things for the last 100, 200, if we're really, I mean, if we're talking like technology wise.
Intended it to be. Do you know what I mean? What do you guys think about that?
I understand where you're going with that. However, I feel like if we're going to do that, then we need to not start with humans, because we understand perfectly well how human beings came about from a starting position of zero, effectively. Like, we understand how evolution works, is my point. You can say it about the universe, I suppose, but we can maybe not simulate the universe perfectly, but we can get a pretty decent approximation in computers. Like, the things aren't complete mysteries to us. We understand how some things work. And I'm still not actually sure how God gets fit in here exactly. Like, God is a loaded term that has a lot of meaning behind it to a lot of people. So I guess we'll just say a creating force. I'm not sure how
create. That's right. Like, you're just gonna. So now we get to call God just a creating force. See what I mean? See how we just like blurry the lines here for them to just sort of dance in the ambiguity of it all?
Love that. Love that.
Of course you do. Yeah.
I feel like there are better explanations, or more likely or plausible explanations. Like maybe me not being a physicist, maybe black holes all gather together and then become a singularity and then explode outward again, and it's just always been like that. Like who knows? I feel like
sure, but I mean, even if we just talk about, sorry, I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm almost done. Whether we believe there is a God,
what do you say? Polyamorous arachnids. It's just a bunch of legs. Polyamorous means, arachnids with multiple partners. Is that what I get? Yeah, that is right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you are. Okay. I'd actually like to see one of your parties. Yeah. Oh, get down, huh? Okay. I know, consensually. Yeah, I get it. Muppets are like that. They have to be consensual.
You know what? I just lost it. Damn. No sweat. What were you saying?
Goddamn ADHD. I know. I do that all the time. I'm like building up, making this really kick-ass point, but I'm like distracted in a really fun little side tangent that I'm like, anyway, back to the shit. No, I had weird. It's with the, and then your brain's just like, yeah, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to, you might as well just move on. Okay. Just say, forget it and go right now. You're going to be sitting here for 10 minutes. Just go.
My bad. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I was saying that even if it was the black hole thing, like however it is that it happened, that still leaves like this, either something intended it or didn't. And since it seems to operate in a very logical way, so much so that we can use logic to discern how things happen.
Well, we've developed that ability throughout time. Like, it's weird because like logic is descriptive. That's why they're like, man, and we developed this like perfect map, and it determines like how reality works. It's like, or we're just part of that reality, and we looked around and we're like, hey, reality kind of always works like this as best we can tell. And they were like, logic, that's like where it came from. They act like it's some kind of magical thing that created stuff or something. Like logic is what causes things to be the way they are. No, it's not. It's just, that's our description. We are describing our description of this reality and the way that it works, and stuff is never stuff and also not stuff. Like, it's just, that's how it works.
That it seems to me that it's just more likely that that's something intended it. And then as far as the argument for God, like, I feel like you're right about that. God is a very loaded word. And I think that what most people mean, like if you were to stack every theist in the world on a planet, there'd be one quality that they probably all collectively agree upon, that they would all say, yes, that's my God. And it would be that it is the thing responsible for existence, whatever that thing is.
So he's always almost like about to make my point for me is that gods are very specific things, and you don't just get to say, hey, whatever it is that caused everything, that was the one that I was talking about this whole time. Because no, it wasn't.
Like, and then as people try to conceptualize the ineffable, they start to personify it. They start to give symbols to it. They start to try to represent it. And then people that are coming up are told these things, and they confuse the idea with the representation and so on and so forth. And then we have a million different ideas about what that can be. But so,
what's up, Blood Badger? How we doing it? Yeah, I just realized, and my phone is like way on the other side of the house. I totally forgot to put, let everybody know in the Discord that I'm going live.
Sounds like it sounds like you're saying that you understand that this is a problematic behavior, but you are also exhibiting it. Because like by that definition, then if I'm hearing you properly, then I would have to say that evolution is my God. And that's silly, right? Yeah. But like
not necessarily.
That sounds like exactly what you're doing, because you're saying there's something that happened to you that you can't explain. And there's order to the universe that you can't explain. And there's complexity that you can't explain. And therefore, you're going to call the thing that organized all of that God. And what Owen has been, I think, saying to you this whole time is just like,
well,
I'm sorry, go ahead. I don't want to misrepresent you.
Oh no, you're
right,
good.
That's
You're good.
The problem is you can't just call it whatever you want. Like I guess insofar as all words are made up, sure. Insofar as all words are made up, sure. But like at the end of the day, like this thing does have a definition, and the word God does have a definition. And so if you're using the term God to describe this stuff, and you're not expressly saying that you're using this term like Einstein and Spinoza to say a poetic way of just saying the laws of the universe, and you're not actually taking a theistic position. If you are calling in as a theist saying, I can't explain XYZ thing and I'm gonna call this God, then you are taking on a whole hell of a lot of baggage that I don't think you need to. Let me ask you, do you believe in a God that is intercessory, or are you just using this word God as a filler?
Well, I mean, he was saying, I'm going to let him, continue in a second, but it was like, he was saying that there was some kind of experience, but then he wouldn't describe what the experience was, because if he did that, then they would start to like look into what the experience, what the experience was. Right. And then they'll be able to go, okay, here's why it's silly for you to come to conclusions based on this experience. And so they don't want to do, he didn't want to do that because they can, I've seen people, they're like, oh man, I had this experience. And then they describe something like a door closing in their house. Like it was a door that was open and then it wasn't. Slam shut and everything. It's crazy. That doesn't happen. And it's like, dude, no, that actually does happen quite a bit. It's called pressure. And I know it seems insane when it happens, but it's the pressure in your house, and wind outside. Like the wind was out there though. It was nowhere near the door. The door was inside. Dude. Wind is out. I don't know if you understand how wind works. So wind is outside. It's like, no, I get it. But the pressure though changes. And then that's what causes, never mind. You know what? Forget it. it's like, yeah. Oh, thank you. W Styles. How you doing? What's up?
Sorry. What did you say? God, that is what?
That's my answer. There's my favorite album by them, or record, if you want to be cooler, actually call it record. But yeah, and Out Come the Wolves. That's like, that's in my top 5, I would say, the best albums ever. You know what I mean? But that's just me. I don't know. It'd probably be, and see, now you're going to get me thinking about my top 5 albums. But that's definitely in it. I'm going to keep thinking about that, and we'll return to that in a little bit. I'm supposed to be talking about other stuff, but thank you for distracting me with the rancid conversation.
You can
intercessory in your life. Right. Like, yes. Oh, that involves himself in things. Well, I would.
Yes.
So, I mean, the troublesome. I can answer that like this. There's literally, from my conception of it, there would be absolutely no occurrence that isn't an intercessory of God. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, I've heard that before.
So you're literally defining it back out of existence. He just said, unless you're defining God as this pantheistic Spinoza God, of like Einstein or whatever, then and now he's like, oh yeah, anyway, back to actually doing that as if you didn't just bring all of that up. Wow.
You're one of those who believes that nothing happens that isn't in accordance with God's will. I've heard that plenty of times.
Correct. Yeah. Yes.
Do you think that this God is good and has a plan, and that God's plan is a good thing, that eventually it's building towards something?
I think that good is a matter of perspective. I don't think that. I think that if every single human being was killed tomorrow, there would be no one around to call it bad. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
so I think that the human mind is required for good.
So you're a moral anti-realist. Got it.
Go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. So then this God is not a moral agent.
It's so funny, the tangents. It's like, you see Owen's face. It's pretty good. But it was like, you can't say, dude, would you say this God is good? And he's like, well, hold on a second. Let's talk about that word good for a second. Now, if there was no humans on earth, nobody could say anything was bad. Like, oh my God. Do you think there's a God that's good, dude? What the fuck?
Just is.
It just is, yes. Yes, as a matter of fact, I would say that morality is actually a byproduct of a human delusion, actually, if that makes any sense. I mean, I could elaborate on that.
I know,
yeah.
You don't need to. I'm fine with that. But
yeah, we're good. We're good. No, I mean, it sounds fascinating. You know, you should write a book, and then we will read that. Yeah.
Does this God have a mind? Does this God think? Does this God want any of those things?
Well, I mean, let me you know what, I think I can clear this up. Are you a determinist by chance, or do you believe in free will, or what are your views on that?
Wow.
I don't know. Probably
jumping all over the place. Okay, so we've gone to like 3 different philosophical tangents that he has not seemed to like nail anything down with any of them.
Free will, but I don't know.
You don't know. So I would say it's, if you think like determinist, like almost like the script was written long ago, and so it unfolds, and so it shall be. You know what I mean? If it was even, you know, if it's not eternal, it was written a long time ago.
At all.
Okay,
but that doesn't answer my question. Did this God set this in motion so that it has a deterministic way? Did it do that on purpose with a goal in mind?
Well, that's what I would say. Right? Yeah, it was intended. Yeah, I would say that it was intentional. Yes.
Okay, cool. So then here's the situation that you're in, where now you have to be in the whole everything happens for a reason camp, where now every horrible thing, every fucking rape, every murder, the genocide in Palestine, the genocide in Sudan.
Pineapple on pizza? Sorry, I felt like that would go really well in his list that he was putting together there. So does that answer your question? The fact that goes in the list that is currently being listed by Forrest here.
You have to now be like, yeah, well, this is supposed to happen. This is all part of the big master plan that this super smart thing did. And it's all, you know what, you're I'm happy that you didn't take a moral stance on it, because more often than not, when we get here, someone will say, yes, everything God does is good. And then we're in that moral mind. But like you are in this conundrum where you now have to justify every horrible thing that happens in the world. And also every good thing that happens is no longer like a happy surprise or something you can be proud of, because it was all part of this creature's plan from the beginning. And absolutely none of it has any real explanatory power, because while you can use it to blanket explain everything, it doesn't make novel testable predictions. It can't be tested. It isn't something you can falsify.
If something quote unquote explains everything, it doesn't explain anything. That's not how explanations work. Explanations have to explain one thing and not explain something else. You can't have it be just the answer all for everything. You know, it reminds me of in that old cartoon. Say that old cartoon back in the day. But there was like, you know, the Scooby-Doo show or whatever. But then they had like the spin-off where they're young. And it's like the young Scooby-Doos. And I think it was called a pup named Scooby-Doo. 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 Anyway, one of the bits that was kind of like a returning bit on the show was Fred. Is it Fred? Frank? Fred? No, it's Fred. The blonde guy, the leader dude. Fred, Prince Jr., whatever, you know what I mean. But he would always blame whatever it was on red herring, which is just kind of funny, right? You know, and it was just like red herring was always the bad guy. You know, Scrappy was badass, dude. I loved that they made him the bad guy in the movie too. Now, it was weird choice. The whole movie was weird, but I still really liked it. But yeah, it would just be like, it's red herring. And the fact that you know, red herring is like a debate tactic it's just funny. It's just very clever. But he would just blame everything on that. And I remember there was actually one episode where red herring was the bad guy, and it was at the one time that Fred was like, no, I'm not gonna say that it's red herring again, because it's never him. And then it ends up being him. It was hilarious. Anyway, but yeah, it turns out to be kind of like that, where it doesn't actually ever explain anything, because you're just using the same thing over and over again, you know?
It's just a statement that gets you into a weird situation explaining reality.
You're absolutely right. It doesn't have any falsifiable or any of that stuff. Or I'm sorry for testing, but what it does do is if a person actually believes that, then the very thing that causes a person to have a hard time with.
What's up, Kelly? How we doing? Kelly said, I remember watching this episode when it was live. Oh my God. Yep. Those are the days, right? Hanna-Barbera. Is that Hanna-Barbera? Or was that the other weird one? With like the hillbilly bears and stuff. No, that's Hanna-Barbera. Anyway, it's, you know what I mean. It was good.
There, like for instance, if you remember back to the beginning of the conversation, when we talked about it is virtuous to say I don't know something, right? Now, if that's the reason that I'm saying I don't know something, then that would mean that it's not virtuous for me to not say that. And since a human being has a need to
why would you have to go to the double neck? Why are you making this complicated? That means it's not virtuous to not say that you're not doing what you aren't also saying. What, man? Wait, which one? Are we on a positive or negative at this point?
Justify itself. Then it stands to reason it's not virtuous for me to not say that. And since a human being has a need.
It's not virtuous. Oh, to not say I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Yeah, it would not be virtuous, I would say. If you just say that you know everything all the time and act like you are right about the things you just claim to know all the time. Yeah, that's definitely not virtuous. That just because, what is it? Stupid. Yeah.
To self-justify itself. Then it stands to reason that I'm susceptible to doing that without being aware that I'm doing it. Like, Leon Festinger called it cognitive dissonance. It's been around for a long time, but human beings are susceptible to that right there. And as soon as I'm not splitting the world into a false dichotomy of right and wrong anymore, then that means that I can, my negative qualities, according to me, are now completely justified, which means that I can see them and I don't have to hide from them. And the foundation for cognitive dissonance no longer exists. And so now when I'm testing things, I actually have a true open mind without the blockages of, no, this is bad. So I'm not a bad person. So it has to be, and then having some kind of spin on that. Does that make sense?
What the fuck are you talking about, man? What the hell is going on? It's like, how did he say all that? And I'm like, wow, he hasn't actually said anything. Like that entire time, he didn't get anywhere close. He's just talking about admitting that you don't know stuff. And that's it. It's like, that's a good thing, but good night.
And then another.
Sport's like, nah, not this time, man. We're not the type that'll just say, yes, that makes sense no matter what, because we're polite people. We just sort of nod along with whatever. Say that it always makes sense because we're just going to say yes, because that's the polite thing to do.
So I would say this. Have you ever thought something was good and then later decided it was bad?
Yeah. Pineapple on pizza. Yeah, I know. I had a stint. Yeah. I had a Chuck E. Cheese when I was employed at Chuck E. Cheese. And they came out with the Hawaiian pizza, and I thought it was good. And then I realized later that was wrong.
That ever happened to you?
Yes.
Okay. And the moment that, and in the moments that you thought it was good, did you know that you were going to change your mind about that?
I didn't.
Of course not.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
So this completely and utterly disqualifies you from making determinations of whether things are good or bad on a logical basis.
Shoot.
Right? Logically speaking, that there's no logic there. If we're trying to ascertain the truth of objective reality.
So this is like, you're not allowed. This is like part of the problem when these philosophy guys start going, and I swear it's like, there's like a mistake in their reasoning, and then their thoughts process just kind of keeps on going. And without realizing their mistake. This is basically acting like you can't develop as a person. Like everybody has to admit that at some point they thought things that they didn't think later because they learned more information, because we're all not children anymore. We used to be children, and we thought things made sense in a particular way because we were children, and then we stopped thinking that way, right? And he's like, well, if you ever done that, you can't say anything. You can't say, because you look, you're a flip flopper. What are you, a Democrat? Yeah, no, get out of here. You're flip flopping ass. No, then you can't ever say anything about anything because you changed your mind once. And it's like, dude, that's not how this works. But it's funny that, people that are theists want to make that case because they want to be able to go, well, I'm just going to decide that a God is real and then just never say it's not true. And then I won't. And then that's actually virtuous, is just doubling down on the thing that I've decided I'm just going to keep believing forever, no matter what, evidence be goddamned. But yeah.
If we're trying to ascertain the truth of objective reality, then we can't do so through a subjective lens. So as soon as we start talking about the Holocaust and rape and murder and all that stuff, our emotional bias.
That makes no sense, dude. Like, what lens are we gonna do? What are you gonna chop like the subjective part of your brain out? Like, doesn't work, dude. Everybody is subjective. Like, acknowledging that you can't be objective is a good thing, but they act like you've just given away all of your leverage or something if you ever admit that you have to be subjective. It's so crazy. Like, no, I get to say that it's objectively true because God told me it's objectively true. And I could say that because God created the universe. So it's outside my subjective purview, and it's just through God's objective purview. And he told me. So boom, there we go. What? Holy shit, no.
Got to kick in, preventing us. I'm sorry?
That's not true. No, that's not true.
Oh, okay.
The fact that I have been able to recognize mistakes and correct for those mistakes makes me, if anything, more qualified to then recognize what things are good and bad, because I have experience with doing so, and I know what it looks like when I'm fooled. I also, as one of the reasons that I've been able to determine when I've been wrong about morality before is because I've developed as a moral person. That's part of the journey, part of growing. The fact that we have
listen to that, like, it's part of the journey, part of growing. That dude just basically took that entire concept and forgot it existed, and then was like, well, if you've ever changed your mind, you can't say that. You have to arrive first at all correct conclusions. Otherwise, you can't say that anything is right or wrong at all because you were wrong once. Holy shit.
Necessarily ascertain objective information about reality through a subjective lens only makes us more careful. And that's the whole endeavor of science, is to try to translate our subjective experience into something that we can verify outside of our subjective experience.
I love Empress. I used to be 28 inches tall, but then hormones and time happened.
And get out of our own way to prove ourselves wrong, not to prove ourselves right. So this simply isn't accurate. And the fact of the matter is, when I talk about morality and things, I agree with you with the fact that morality is necessitates a mind to process it. That on Mars, where there is no life, there is no morality, right? But right here on this planet, I can apply universal principles of ethics that I can ground a morality in the most objective way possible based on biomedical sciences.
So you got see how he said the most objective way possible, because it's not really truly possible for it to be absolutely objective. And you have to be able to admit that to be able to get closer to objective than the person that says that everything they think their God thinks is objective. And that tends to be who you're talking to when you have this conversation.
Psychology, sociology, human thriving, my best scientific understanding of what makes humans happy and successful, I can base morality in those things in a remarkably objective way. Nothing ever is going to be completely objective because it is filtering through my brain, but it makes me a whole hell of a lot more qualified than somebody who's on the bottom of Kohlberg's development following a religion because they don't want to go to hell and they do want to go to heaven.
Okay. And I would say that you would increase the chances of serving your goal.
Fortune thought, what's going on? Oh, dude, said no life on Mars, huh? Said that with an awful lot of confidence. Yeah. I mean, who knows, right? What if there is civilizations, full-blown civilizations on Mars, right? But they're beyond microscopic. What if it's all in a single drop? Like, remember the Men in Black ending in Men in Black, the first one, when they're inside of a little. What if there's a universe in a necklace, right, on Mars? You don't know, right? What if that? Now, I think there was life on Mars, but then billionaires took over the planet. And the rest, I feel like, is pretty self-explanatory. That's why there's no life on Mars anymore.
Through that, and your goal is to promote well-being, I assume.
It was like millions of years ago, though. Millions of years ago, they were like beautiful civilization all over Mars, and then billionaires,
among other things.
Is that
sure,
right? Among other things, but can we safely consolidate it all into well-being, promoting well-being? Is that the idea? That's the ultimate goal.
Cadillac. Oh, I love it. That's awesome. How you doing, Cat? What's up? That's great. Today it's Cat Attack with a new name, Cadillac, which is excellent. I love that. Sorry, I haven't been around. Been having a hard time with my deconstruction. Oh, I'm sorry. I know how that can be, though. It's okay, and it's okay to acknowledge that it's hard, because it is. Anything that we're dealing with, healing from stuff like that, it's always going to be hard. Healing from trauma, hard. So it's okay. It's okay to acknowledge that you're having a hard time. I had a hard time too, but the best way to go through hard times is together. So that's why you got to hang out with the community, right? And we can help each other, right? Anyway, all right.
For me, it's well-being and bodily autonomy. Actually, bodily autonomy comes first, and then well-being.
Yeah,
bodily
I'm
autonomy, and then
I'm fine with just saying
so freedom. Like you're saying, like freedom, right? So like basically, freedom is that bodily autonomy. Like okay, gotcha. So
yeah, liberty, right? Yeah, I always go with. Do I go with liberty? I can't remember what I go with. What do I usually, Kevin? What do I say? Kevin doesn't know. It's like, I don't listen to you when you talk about that. That's some boring ass shit, dude. Okay. I do not care about your moral philosophy, bro.
Well,
I'm willing to agree.
Fall under the umbrella of well-being, right?
I'm willing to agree to the term as long as we don't have to then go along where you say, well, if you believe in well-being, then you should believe in this. And then I have to now get finicky about the term. So
no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm
sure.
not. I actually have the same metric. I agree with you.
Okay.
I believe that. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that that's everybody's metric, whether they admit it or not. I think implicitly, everybody is basically their morality develops from what they perceive as is promoting the most amount of well-being. But then we have utilitarians, we have I can't even remember, but they're philosophical adversaries, we'll say, right? And
if we found that Mars had advanced life, I want to look exactly like or that look exactly like us, but every one of them is a total asshole that talks with nothing but passive aggressive, annoying quips. That would be funny because watching them integrate into society would be hilarious. Yeah, absolutely would. I would pay to watch that. Actually, that would be. You know what it would end up being? Would be reality TV. It'd just be a whole lot of reality TV. Like Martian, House of Martians, right? Real Martians of Hollywood, or whatever. It'd be something like that.
And they might have different ideas about what actually promotes well-being. So it's still a subjective metric. And even if we did come to a perfect methodology for promoting well-being at its absolute maximum, that's still subject to the human race, right?
Yeah. Is anybody Forrest is not even paying attention at this time. He's like, I'm gonna count the notches on my wall. That's 1, 2, 4. It goes back 3,042, 3,043. And
still subject to that, which means that there's a smidge of something missing from its objectivity there. Not to mention that even if we could do that, we can't predict outcomes over time with any type of sufficiency with any type of guarantee. Like, for instance, a woman
I don't
who
think
is,
anybody-
let's say, a woman who was raped.
I don't think anybody's arguing against any of that. I don't think anybody's arguing to say that there is a perfect objective stance here, or that we could know everything ever. We're just saying we're doing the best we can, and we're going to say when we don't know things.
Sure. We are doing the best that we can. We're guessing as best as we can, and we guess right a lot. We're pretty good guessers. But
we got a lot of time under our belt of being, conscious, right, and writing stuff down. So yeah, we kind of learn. We're supposed to anyway. Apparently, we don't learn from past mistakes because we end up repeating them over and over again, it seems, throughout history. But for the most part, the reason that we're good at guessing is because people have done a lot of guesses prior, and we could see how wrong they were when it played out. That's kind of how we do it. It's trial and error,
Sometimes we get wrong, right? And now we could say that. So I want to remove.
What's up, Big John? How we doing, dude?
Move this. I'm sorry.
Can we move it?
It's a little beyond.
I'm sorry,
guessing.
I didn't hear you.
Now experience. It is choices driven by experience, but yeah.
Well, sure, but it is. But unless you're guessing, right? So, maybe to really.
I mean, what do you mean by get? This is like where it just gets kind of weird, because it's just like what Owen just brought up is a great point. It's like these are not just guesses. He's acting like you're just coming up with crap just randomly. It's like, how we figure things out about right and wrong and stuff. And it's like, no, we've seen how things play out due to our experiences and stuff. It's not just guesses. He's acting like everybody's just started existing yesterday and then just started, doing stuff. And they're like, is this bad? Is this bad? No, that's not how it worked.
Good guess. It's a really good guess. An educated guess. A very educated guess. We can call it that, but it's still guessing. And now,
what's up, Theo? How we doing?
We can take some.
I mean, look, if you're gonna reduce everything down in such like a reductionist way, like it's absurd. I mean, but yeah, sure, okay. If guesses just means anything that isn't the thing that you just demonstrated, nobody could possibly have, because epistemology. But so there is no such thing as not a guess, dude.
Something like, if we're talking about the human experience, we can take, say, a woman who was raped. Okay, and I'm actually going to speak about a friend of mine. All right, so a woman who was raped. That's like the most terrible. I mean, is there?
And so Theo said, "Wow, more pro-objective ethics here, huh?" Yeah, and well, I was hoping that y'all could, get in a knockdown, drag out fight in the comments there or in the chat while we do the video, and I figured, what better way to get everybody to just start fighting each other rather than, I mean, it's either that or like what define atheist, right? That seems to be one that gets us all riled up too. But yeah, objective morality seems to, there's quite the split in the skeptic community, believe it or not.
Anything more inflammatory than that, right? Like I don't know, man. It gets my blood pumping. You know what I mean?
Hey, it's PP. Hey, PP.
That infuriates me, right? When I'm over here in the everything doesn't happen the way it's supposed to state of mind. But anyways, so she ends up healing from this. You know what I mean? Going through this whole spiritual process, and then actually accredits the most amazing thing in her life to that, the thing that motivated her to do so. And then she started an organization to help women to recover from that same thing in the same way that she did. And it's like, so now, was the rape bad, or was it?
Oh, it was good.
I mean,
it was good because she her response was to like help people with it, and she would have just been bad otherwise she wouldn't have done that. So therefore the grape is good. Wow, dude. Wow. That's some wild philosophizing you got going on over this. See why morality is subjective, because of shit like this guy's saying.
It was bad if we isolate it in its context. If we isolate it in its context in reality, and in so doing, we separated from its truth.
It's just bad. Just because you can draw a line to something that like was like somewhat positive doesn't mean that the behavior that the one, because this is also the other thing is like, because it's the behavior of a different person. Like, so you're saying like the behavior of one person harmed somebody, but since the somebody that was harmed went and continued to be a good person, but addressed that situation and used her goodness to try to do stuff. She was already seemingly good, right? But he is the person that's the bad with the bad behavior here. So it's weird that you're like, oh no, but as long as the good person does something good after they were harmed by the bad person, that makes the bad person not bad anymore. Fucking what, man?
Just is. So
Yes, it
you
just
have some
is.
empirical
This
data for
person-
that?
This person was incredibly strong and incredibly brave and able to overcome something awful and do something wonderful with the trauma that she incurred. I find that is often the case, that the worst, most horrible things that happen to us in our lives can be used to be the most helpful to other people. And I'm amazed and impressed and inspired that she's been able to do that. But I am never, ever going to even come close to thinking that what happened to her was a net positive. It was a horrible thing that happened to her, and I'm amazed she was able to make something good out of it.
She would disagree with you. The person who
And
experienced
she's
it
welcome to have,
would disagree with you.
She would? Are you sure?
Welcome to have that
Sure.
perspective, and she's welcome to have that
Right.
perspective.
So wait, hold on. But this is what I don't understand in these kinds of like conversations and whatnot. So then would she be saying that, okay, then I guess the behavior is universally good because I, responded to that harm good, or like I did good with my response to that obvious, disgusting harm that was done to her. Does that mean, well, okay, then I guess it's fine to go out and do that to other people then. I guess then it would be good for the person that did that to her to have that happen to him, right? Like that's how it's gotta work, right? It's gotta be universal. If it's gonna be objective or whatever, then it's universal.
But
Sure.
I think if that's
so
something
here's
that
the
helps
question:
her,
would she have?
if that's something
Would
that
she
helps
have
her,
gotten all?
if that's something that helps her get through this in her life, in her emotional processing, in her healing, then that's great for her. But I can say, and I'm not saying these are the same things, but I can say for sure that there are plenty of examples that I've heard on this show of people overcoming suffering, overcoming addiction, overcoming incarceration, overcoming a lot of horrible, painful experiences with horrible fucking coping mechanisms. And we're able to go about doing something that's good on that. I would not then say, because they have a happier, better life now, that the thing that happened to them was good or their coping mechanism was good. If that works for her,
Right.
That's great. I'm not going to tell her she's
And
wrong
I'm
for feeling
not
what she
saying-
feels.
Right,
But
and I'm not
also
saying we
not
should go out
going
and
to say
rape
that
women
anything that
too,
happened to
so
her there
that
is good.
right, and I'm not saying we should go rape women so that they can all start foundations either. That's sort of not what I'm saying either.
Okay, well then it totally destroys your entire point then, man. Because like that, if you can't do that, then what's the point of what you're saying?
Again, back to I agree with you about the well-being thing as I move through life. You know what I mean? But it's about surrendering the outcomes. Okay, so the point is that had this woman had that happen, had that not happened to her,
and it doesn't work for me.
Had that specific.
Oh, that's utilitarianism, and it's like a stark utilitarianism.
Woman not had that experience. And
So like utilitarianism is like, as long as something good happens, then the harm wasn't harm. Really?
she would not have had all the following experiences. And
right.
so,
Let me kind of lay down let me just lay down like my
Yeah. Let me
position, because it sounds like what you're laying down is utilitarianism, as Forrest mentioned. That's why I said maximized well-being with bodily autonomy as the starting point. So whatever is best for society,
that's right,
while respecting people.
So it's like, hold on, I'm just looking it up real quick here. It's a consequentialist ethical theory talking about utilitarianism, is a consequentialist ethical theory developed by Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, holding that the most moral action is the one that maximizes overall happiness and reduces suffering for the greatest number. It prioritizes outcomes over motives, advocating for the greatest good for the greatest number. Okay. And that's, of course, based off consequentialism. It's sort of the principle that it's built off of, which is the morality of an action is determined solely by its results. Utility / welfarism, actions are judged by their ability to produce pleasure, happiness, or well-being, and to prevent pain or unhappiness. Right. Okay. Aggregationism, the total amount of happiness produced is what matters, calculated by summing the happiness of all individuals affected. And the impartiality, every individual happiness is weighted equally. Okay. Interesting. I wasn't really familiar with that little sect, I guess, of consequentialism. But I guess it makes sense. I was like, I think it was it Kant I was looking into, and found some of his work pretty interesting. And it was like, he did the categorical imperative. And I guess it was like a combination of that, of like consequentialism plus what was the other version? Anyway, but like where your intent matters, more than I guess the outcomes. Like as long as you intended for something good to happen, then that's what matters. But and then other people, the consequentialism is the opposite. Only the consequences matter. Anyway, but he tried to, he combined it. He combined it. Did them? Did I say it right? Shut up. And and came up with the categorical imperative. But he was really heavy. Kant himself was really heavy on the you have to be virtuous. You got to be like it. That's a big part of it, is wishing to do well to other people and everything.
People's choices. In that case, it was good for society that she did that, but her bodily autonomy was not respected, and that is kind of a line for me. So that's why I always throw these two things together.
That's the biggest thing. Like going through something horrific is bad. What you do with that can be good, but that's not, I'm never going to wish that upon anybody, or even remotely say, hey, this is a good thing, this was worth it. That's just not appropriate. With that, we've been on this call for quite a while. We have 3 other calls left.
And we haven't really said a whole lot, gonna be honest here. But yeah, because that's the thing. Saying that it was worth it, right? That's almost what it sounds like he's saying. And he's like trying to get them to be like, but wasn't it worth it if it made her do this, blah, 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 blah. And I feel like that's exactly the kind of like moral relativistic bullshit that Christians constantly use to like say that harming people is good. They call it like the tough love and spare the rod, spoil the child bullshit. That it tends to, they're constantly like, this is why it's cool that we hurt people all the time, starve children and, as long as they're in Cuba and shit like that. But because they're like, they'll pull themselves up by their bootstraps from that suffering. That's good suffering there. It's a motivator. And we need these lazy butts to be a little more motivated.
So.
Okay, well, I'll just lean on that back to the initial question, or not the initial, but it seems less likely that all of this wasn't intended, and I feel like
I don't know
to lean towards the left.
I feel like it's the culture. Ember says every dang thing, and it's funnier because I can hear it in Ember's voice. I think that's what. I'm sorry. Every dang thing is full of horrible colors lately. I totally agree. And It's just that it's weird. It's like the conversation is just dove off a cliff. You know, I thought we were getting some. I'm just kidding. We weren't getting anywhere. What am I talking about? We're talking about Trump supporters and Christians, as though we're never going to get anywhere. To begin, you know, from the get, we were going nowhere. but let's see where they're going.
It's likely.
I don't know by what metric you're measuring that. I don't know by what metric you're measuring the question,
and then it was either intended or it wasn't.
Yeah, Draper, I don't know by what metric you're measuring that,
Stop
because you don't have any other universes to compare this one to. So you don't know how likely it was that all this just happens the way that it happens. And also, by the way you're speaking about this, speaking about this, I'm going to bet money that you haven't put a lot of time into really digging into how these processes work in the first place and how much they don't need any intercession. So I don't think this is going anywhere at this point.
You need intercession. If they already are, if there's nothing that's not intercession, there's nothing that's not. Like there was a cosmic soup at some point, right? Do you agree with that?
Let me change the word intercession to guidance. They don't need any guidance. They don't need any of that to do what they do.
Yeah. It's saying, of course, everything good and bad. Of course, everything good and bad thing that happened in my life shaped who I am. But damn it, I would love something I never had to experience. Or I love there was something I never had to experience, especially DV or essay. Yeah, 100%. Because that's where it gets weird. The way that they're talking about this is just like, and don't get me wrong, like I've gone through a lot. I've had some shit that kicked up some trauma for me quite a bit, in the past. But and I don't know if I would actually say like, oh yeah, I would take back some of that stuff. Like I would, go back and have these things not happen. But that's more in the context of like, I don't know who I would be if those things didn't happen. But that doesn't mean that the things that happened were good. I mean, I wasn't assaulted like that necessarily, but I was, physically assaulted a lot and, kicked out, was homeless, shit like that. Right. So would I be, as strong of a person if those things didn't happen? I don't know. Maybe not. But that doesn't mean that those things were good. And the thing is, a lot of times, especially when it comes to like homelessness and shit like that, they act like throwing people out on the street, like makes them pull themselves up by their bootstraps or whatever. A lot of times people don't do that. Like you can react that way, but a lot of times it's just added trauma. It's just extra trauma, right? Because you kind of need to decide for yourself to do that, to take the next step, to grow. If you're being forced to grow by somebody else or these circumstances that are put on you, usually it just makes you, angry, and it actually makes the process even more difficult to grow and heal, and so on and so forth. So it depends on the person, but a lot of times, you should always expect that it's not going to help somebody if you're hurting somebody. This is crazy. It's crazy to even have to say shit like that. You know what I mean? But anyway, what's up, Break? How we doing?
So what you're saying is that
requires that.
So you're saying that basically something made this, or this thing just happens, and it flows to all of these outcomes.
Yeah. So you learn the wrongs. You learn from the wrongs you commit or are committed towards you. Unlike Christians, unforgiving. Yeah, because that's the thing. If they're just constantly forgiving everything, there's no actual thought. And not only are they just constantly forgiving everything, they're constantly getting forgiveness for themselves, right? And then their system of morality is completely screwed up it basically makes no such thing as morality, because everybody's just evil. If everybody's just evil, then there's not really a concept that exists as evil, right? Because if everybody's that, then there's no distinction. And so the concept doesn't really exist other than like in contrast with God. So if we're all just evil, well then do an essay and sick shit like that is equal to thinking bad thoughts. And that's insane. That's a crazy thing to say. But according to Christians' belief systems, that actually makes sense, which is terrifying, a little bit.
Without anything setting it in motion, without any guidance at all. It just happens, like almost like magic. Right?
If by this thing you mean the universe, no, I don't think it's magic. By this thing, do you mean existence?
What's up, Robin? How we doing?
Universe? What do you mean?
Existence, yeah. Existence. All of existence, whatever there is.
This dude sounds familiar. I feel like I've heard his voice before. I'm like wondering if he's the person that had called John and I when we were on Skeptic Haven. But it's just the voice. It's sort of some of the stuff that he said. It just feels similar.
Even the things we don't know exist. All of it.
It seems to be the case because I don't know if it's possible for any other circumstance to arise, because I don't know I've never seen any examples of nothing. So I don't know if nothing is possible. And I don't know any other universes out there that look any different than ours. And so what I do know about this universe, I'm willing to say I don't know where it came from, if indeed it came from anywhere. I don't know what the beginning of it.
Do they have to come from places? That's always my question. It's like, oh my God. That's always my question though, because the way they say it, like, where did it come from? And it's like, it was just here. Did it need to come from somewhere? Where did it need to come from for you? Ultimately, every choice made in life shapes who you are. Today, it's impossible to truly know how minuscule or massively a random decision made different would alter the current you. I know, and that kind of freaks me out. It's like that that one movie, the very serious Ashton Kutcher movie, where he Butterfly Effect. That's what it is. Yeah. And he would like go back and be nice to somebody that he was mean to, and then he'd come back and have his arms blown off. You're like, what? It's like, well, because he was nice to that person, that made him go and try to get the bomb out of the mailbox. What? Sorry if I ruined that movie for somebody. I'm just kidding. I made all that up. Those are just made up examples. Go watch the movie though. It's pretty good.
Look like if it even had a beginning. What I do know is that
either.
Every single bit of it, from the Big Bang to right now, every single bit of it that we have come to understand and learn its processes, they do happen naturally and oftentimes stochastically. And so we're able to say that, like, where stars come from, totally natural process. How stars go through nucleosynthesis, making new elements, totally natural process. How those new elements make things like planets, totally natural process. How life gets started,
that's not really an
everything we know
argument
about it,
to what
totally
I'm
natural
saying.
process.
Yeah,
Right.
That's not an argument to what I'm saying.
None of that needs anybody guiding it. And so the only argument you can have for this in your case
So then
is
it
what
would
you already
happen by
said, which
magic.
is that what you said
So
before
then it
this
happens
is
by
that
magic.
no, it doesn't happen by magic. Quit putting words in my mouth.
So what is this guy doing, man? He's like, oh, so it's magic. What? What are you talking about? Is it saying it's a natural process?
But you already said a minute ago
I'm
is
not.
that this already had Draper.
Wow.
Shut the fuck up. I'm finishing my the whole thing that I'm trying to explain to you here hinges on this.
His name's Draper. Okay, Don. It's like I'm gonna be smooth and suave like Don Draper. I think I'm even gonna call myself Draper in the call there. Yeah, that's gonna be the character I'm gonna play.
What I'm saying is that every single bit of this happens naturally and doesn't need anybody guiding it. Your argument that you brought in earlier was that some guy started it up before the beginning of time so that all these things would happen normally. And that is an unfalsifiable claim. I can tell you that all of this happens this way because that's the way it was coded in the computer game that we're living in. And it means the exact same nothing. It's untestable.
It's a joke. Wow, dude. This dude is not, he's not listening. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. He's not listening. That's what's happening here, or not happening here, more specifically.
So
Unfalsifiable.
it isn't coded by no one.
Coded. It isn't coded.
That was an example. That was an example of a stupid thing that's similar to the stupid thing that you were saying, bud.
And this is the key here, is that what you've got at the end of the day is Discovery Institute level garbage that you have to say, well, you believe in magic or whatever, because you can't grapple with an actual fucking natural process. And that leads you to believe the other weird things you've been saying.
No,
it's just
Forrest isn't always that forceful either. No, but I can see why he is in this instance. They've been talking for a while, okay, and honestly, Forrest has kept his cool for 100% of the 90% of this video. You know, of this entire video, 100% of what we've watched up until that one. That one thing where he said, "Shut the fuck up." And I feel like it was well deserved, to be honest. There, you know, Forrest is tough to crack, but you will get him there at some point if you keep acting like an ass.
That's fucking worthless, and it would be so much easier if you could just be as honest as Owen is saying here, to just say, I don't fucking know, and I want to someday, and not, hey, I know this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. I don't know either.
But you do believe some dude did it.
And you do believe that nothing did it.
No, what? I don't.
You do.
I literally
do. Oh my God. It is some Discovery Institute level. It's worse than that. It's a Ray Comfort level of idiocy here.
We just said,
you're in denial.
You do. Hold on, let's hear that again.
You believe some dude did it.
And you do believe that nothing did it.
No, I don't.
You do.
I literally just said,
you're in denial
don't tell me
the
what
implications of your claim.
Draper, don't tell me what I fucking believe. I literally, Draper, I need you to climb the way off your bullshit high horse. I just told you that I don't believe in nothing. So you don't know what the fuck I believe, and you're making shit up to cope with the fact that you're in a box right now.
And that's absolutely a Ray Comfort line. And it 100% only works on theists. And it's incredible how much that concept does work for theists, but nobody else. You know, they're like, oh, so you think nothing created everything? That's insane. That's something crazy people think. Nothing created everything. You're an idiot. It's like, wow, none of those words like mean anything. Like, you're not. But to them, they're like, well, of course stuff had to be created by create. Nothing can't create stuff. So stuff had to be here because something created. Like, it's just, it only works for people with their brain fully in the religion blender.
What you're saying is fucking
well, if
dumb.
It's a dichotomous question and it's A or B. Well, it is.
No,
then what's the third option? It's
just you being fucking lazy with your thinking. And I'm sorry, but your laziness is not my fucking problem. We've been going round and round for 30 minutes. I've been very polite to you. And now at the end of this, you're going to tell me, I'm going to fucking put you on mute because you cannot control your fucking bullshit for 2 seconds. I've been very polite to you for 30 fucking minutes. So is Owen.
The Forrest lost it at this point. It's done. It's gone. He hit that limit, and now it's on.
Now at the end of this, you're going to tell us what we believe and try to tell us that we can't deal with the implications of our things. Like, we're too fucking stupid to think about this shit when we do it for a fucking living. You're being lazy, intellectually lazy. And it's not my fucking problem. I'm trying to tell you what I believe and why what you believe makes no sense to me. And you are too fucking arrogant to hear it. You're putting words in my mouth to cope with the fact that you don't have a justification for the dumb shit that you think. It's fucking stupid. And I'm done. I'm not dealing with it anymore. I'm not going to get fucking worked up over you being an asshole on my show. Oh, and do you have anything else for Draper?
No, I think that's it. I really appreciate the call. It was interesting, but I think you're going in circles over things that have already been solved. So yeah, that's it.
It was real neat right until we got to the part where rape is worth it. Fuck off. Right? Just ugh.
Yeah, that was a bit awful.
The dude, it gets to a certain point where it's like, it's just looking for a soundbite, and I'm just not into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Practically begging at the end, just please say the word magic. Please say the word nothing. No, I literally said the opposite of those things. And then you're going to tell me that I believe it anyway? Get fucked.
It's crazy too, because It's like the mentality of the nothing thing and all that. Nothing has got to be in the context of something. You can't have the word nothing and just act like it means so, because like to them, nothing for that statement, you think nothing created everything. Nothing just means anything other than a God. Anything other than a God, or anything other, a bunch of anythings other than a God, which is like the truth that just natural processes cause stuff, which they just can't. That just their brain cannot handle that at all. It's like stuff had to be created by somebody on purpose, except for the thing that does the creating. That, of course, just could always exist for some reason because, you know, logic can fuck it up. But yeah.
Right.
Hey, like a subscriber, Jimmy will have to go on a polyamorous dating show to win some prize money.
Wait, I want to do that.
Are these like voted on or something? What are these ending things? Are they suggested by the viewers? Is that what it is? They're like, oh, we're gonna pay so much money because I've been a patron for so long or whatever, and now you got to say the weird thing that I want you to say at the end of the video. You know, because I'm paying money. That's got to be it. Otherwise, these things don't make sense at all.
So also hit like and subscribe, and then go to patreon.com/calltheline. I was trying to make you laugh and ruin the take. That's why that silly face earlier. If I was on a polyamorous dating show, I would just choose everybody.
That is good. See, never mind. I think Jimmy made up that bit, and then that he wanted that to be the punchline. That joke is very Jimmy. No, there's anything wrong with Jimmy. I like Jimmy, but that joke is very Jimmy. Just gonna say that. All right. What else we got here? Let's do some Fundie Tube. It's been somewhat of a minute. Done quite a few debates. I did that because like I hadn't done any debates in a long time. It was like, you know, gotten so caught up in all this bullshit recently that like, you know what? Let's go back to that. So now I'm going to try to do a little bit of both, right? A little bit of call-in shows, a little bit of Fundie Tube, and a little bit of the news on the Twitters. You know, we'll go that direction. Well, let's just roll the dice. Very Jimmy, yeah. That's about the right way to say it, right? That was very Jimmy. Is that good, bad, medium? Just Jimmy. It's very Jimmy. You know, you can decide on the rest of that stuff. Truth must be provable. Okay, maybe some other time. Evil is rising, and then he shows, the Jewish flag, okay, or the Israeli flag, not the Jewish flag. Jewish star is on the Israeli flag. Anyway, is there ever a time? What was it? Is there ever a time to disobey the government? Wow, that is just the wackiest thing to say. Yeah, when they're bad.
When the government seems corrupt, the question isn't who is in charge, but rather what is our obligation to obey. That's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know.
Oh yeah, if you want to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, you know, I'd appreciate it. And so would Kevin, right? Kevin, you never mind. Kevin said he doesn't care. He said you can hit the unlike button for all you care. Really? Are you gonna say that? That's what you're gonna do? Okay.
Never miss an episode. Dad?
Boy, you hit the hornet's nest again, James.
I know.
What is our obligation?
What did he just say?
Today, but before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Dad?
Boy, you hit the hornet's nest again, James.
I know.
What was that voice, man? That was really weird.
It is our obligation to obey the government. Wow, we're getting into a principle that people would disagree sharply about. Just ask King George of England whether or not the colonists had an obligation to obey the crown. He would say, of course. And the colonists would say, no, we don't, because you've turned into a tyrant.
What is this redneck hell? I don't. And what is this? what are the clothes he's got going on here? I feel like I had that shirt when I was 7, you know, and pretty sure my mom made me wear it. She knew everyone was going to laugh too. I refuse to believe that she didn't know that was going to happen. I knew. I didn't even know what this whole color and stuff, felt type stuff is, and I knew that everybody was going to laugh.
So I'm American.
Let's jump into it.
I don't listen to British kings. But.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I agree. But this is a great topic. I want to take a quick pause
before we've gotten anywhere. Literally less than a minute. We haven't made it a minute into this sucker. He's like, I'm going to just do a little pause. Give me money. Give me money. I got some stuff that I will give you in exchange for the money. It's not worth it or anywhere close. Just give me the money though. And I'll maybe send the thing that you got with that, or maybe I won't, whatever, doesn't matter. But give me the money.
for snack time. Have you guys checked out carnivore snacks? It's so good, so delicious. I keep it near me.
Shut the fuck. Oh my God. You are not a carnivore. Just stop. Okay. And that diet is not good for you, as I think the few people that used to exist anyway, that pushed that diet very heavily. They're not doing great.
I almost want to push back against some of the things that I see happening, but I also want to do what's right in God's eyes before I start to take action in my own life.
Yeah. And this is a really good subject because corruption is inevitable within government systems, human government systems. Now in heaven, there's a government going on there where there is no corruption.
What? That's amazing. Now heaven's government, that one kicks ass, bro. Okay. Zero corruption going on up there. Okay. The government is very transparent. They prosecute evenly. The rich people have the exact same mansions as the poor people. It's very communistic up there, actually.
Right? Father, Son, Holy Spirit. But here on earth, we have sin. We have the wicked.
Sorry, the government is just three people. I forgot. They're just the three branches of government are Father. That sounds like a Christian nationalist that they would say. Like, what are the three branches of government? Father, Son, Holy Spirit, bro. Yeah. And then he chest bumps his buddy that's next to him. That's right. Those are the three branches of government, bitch. Yeah.
An evil heart of man who's always looking for power and to consolidate that power at the top. Or back to Lord of the Rings and the One Ring. That's what everybody wants. So it's tricky. And government and law has an inherent weakness to it that can only be fixed by the power of the Spirit of God. So let's get into it, because as Christians, people of faith, we want to do what God wants us to do with regard to the government. And that certainly isn't to be vigilantes who take the law into our own hands. We don't want to be,
which I think we're all thankful for, that's one of the few things that y'all haven't just done that we would rather you didn't.
Anti-law and be lawless. But at the same time, what if the government goes sideways and they get super sus and they're doing things
like right now, when they got, a child SA cover up going on, and Trump's name, our dear leader, our president of this United States, is mentioned over 1 million times in the unredacted Epstein files. You know that? 1 million. 1 million. Yeah, he was mentioned that many times.
That violate the laws here in the United States of America.
Yeah, I think there's a phrase, and it's absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that is there is a phrase. You're right about that. And we're seeing it happen, basically. Well, I mean, he was already corrupt anyway. It's just, what it is people that crave absolute power, they've been corrupt the entire time.
At least for man.
That's right.
Give so much power.
Once you get to God, then you can have absolute power and still be awesome, because everybody just has to say all your evil deeds are awesome because you're God and it's awesome no matter what. good no matter what, because we just redefined what good means for God there.
Or to a government that they're able to essentially do whatever they want and not have any repercussions for their actions.
Yeah.
That always turns into corruption.
Yep. That never worked out well.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got?
Well, like always,
What do you got?
I think that the Bible should be the one to have the say at the end of the day, not just our opinions on this, not what I feel like, not how fired up I am about the topic. But I pulled a couple Bible verses that are just talking about civil authority and what is our obligation to respect these authorities in our life. The first one that I have is Romans 13, 1 and 2. And this
Is he seriously going to go into the, oh, you got to obey the government because God put them there? Shit. Really?
is a time when Rome ruled over the early Christians or the early Jews in that time. And it says, everyone must submit to governing authorities, for all authority comes from God.
Yep. Civil War reenactment cosplayer works. I could see that. Yeah. That's where that corduroy, that's a Liz corduroy. I was like, what is that shit called again? There's a bear, right? There's a bear and it's a clothes type.
And those who are in positions of authority have been placed there by God. So anyone who rebels against authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and they will be punished.
Yeah.
Yep. See, so if you go against the government, you're going against God. I wonder who wrote that verse. Was it people in authority? You think?
That seems super clear, but then we go to Acts 5:29.
Yeah. And
all right.
It contradicts it probably, I'm sure, because it's the Bible. No book contradicts itself more than that one.
And
I love that.
this is when the apostles
I love that. I love that our book is sort of just contradicting itself.
are ordered to stop preaching by the governing authorities.
By the government
And Peter says,
that God put there, mind you. So
we must obey God rather than man.
boom.
So that almost seems like a bit of a contradiction right there.
A little bit. Yeah. No, it is absolutely a contradiction.
Right.
Interesting. Let's keep going.
Right. Oh, hold on. I can do this. Well, you got to take the context of each claim. I guarantee he's going to use the word context. Watch. He's going to be like, wow, the context for each one of those is different. So that's why it's actually okay. And it's not contradiction. So
There's Daniel 6:10. And this is when King Darius enacts a law where for 30 days you're not allowed to pray to God. You're only allowed to worship the king. Daniel's response to King Darius was that he got down on his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God.
So, yes, God sent Trump because he was out of locusts. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll take the locusts, honestly. And I'm talking the kind that eat all the food. I would we could all just starve better, I think, than what is happening right now.
As he had done previously. So he essentially defied the order of the king, and that led him to get arrested and then thrown into the lion's den.
Oh, right.
Dang.
Yeah, and he did so publicly with his, I believe it was his windows open.
With his windows
And
open.
he got reported, he threw him into the lion's den.
Yeah, he wanted them to, he was doing it on purpose, praying illegally, mind you, not following the king's orders, the government's orders, as it were.
Yeah.
And then we all know the story. God protected him in the lion's den.
Yeah.
Yeah, he closed the mouths of the lions. I don't know why they say it like that. It just sounds funny, like all the lions are walking around there. I don't know what's happening. I can't even open my mouth. Like this, I can barely breathe. I have to breathe through my nose, and I have had a cold. It is like I'm gonna suffocate. I'm pretty sure.
Isaiah 1:17, Isaiah says, learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, and plead the widow's cause. So that the correction of oppression.
Right.
Yeah. So it comes back to that fundamental question of, do we always have to obey the governing authorities in our lives?
Patrick.
I'm starting to think that this kid he's an atheist, and he's just messing. He's just messing with. Look at his face right now. Are you gonna say that I don't have to listen to you? Remember, you're an authority to me, Dad. Okay. So, let's talk about me not having to listen to you, the governing authority over me.
Henry said no.
No.
Shall we lie supinely on our backs while they put their chains around us? Give me freedom or give me death.
I'm right there with you.
That's what he said.
Very good. No, that's good. You need like a skull to hold the top part. A jawless skull. Really.
I can think of another one.
That could be a good punk band name. Jawless Skull. Jawless Skull. Jawless Skull. Jawless Skull would work actually good too for a ska band. You know.
How about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego with the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar? VeggieTales. You will bow to the bunny. The bunny. Oh, I love the bunny. And they said, no, king, we will not bow to anyone except our God.
This is a real story. It's not just a VeggieTales skit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a real story, but it's slightly more than a VeggieTales skit, because it's an ancient text.
Exactly. This is Phil Vischer and Mike Nowrocki, VeggieTales, and it's the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who said, you know what, we're not going to eat the king's food, and we're not going to bow down to the king's statue. And they said, well, then you're going to die.
What? Where was the food thing? That was in there? There was a food part? I don't remember the food part. I just remembered the statue, having to bow down to a statue, which is honestly a weird requirement for a king to make. And I always thought that was kind of unrealistic until I saw how Trump is. And now I'm like, never mind. Everything I thought about those insane kings of the past, they all make sense now, because they were just petty ass weirdos.
And they said, so be it, king. If you throw us into the fiery furnace, our God will rescue us. And so
that young guy is adorable. He is pretty cute. He could, he's pretty good looking. I'm gonna say, he's got a nice strong jaw, right? I like the cut of his jib and his jaw. He's got a good jaw.
He said, heat the furnace up 7 times hotter than it normally is. And they threw the guys in there. And
you're still doing VeggieTales voices, dude. Okay, I can hear you doing it. I don't even know if you know you're doing it.
In fact, the guys that threw them in there, they died because the furnace was so hot they got so close. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
And this is a children's story that we tell children. Right. And they're like, and even the guys throwing them in there burnt to death on the spot, kiddo. They're like, it's cool. It's cool. It's a Bible story. They're full of blood, guts, and violence. It's the Bible, man.
Had a fourth person in the fire with them, and they came out. Not only were they not burned, their clothes didn't even smell like smoke. And this was in full defiance of the governing authority of King Nebuchadnezzar. So what do we do?
So Bible contradicts itself. Doesn't make any sense. Sometimes it tells you to obey the government. Sometimes it says not to. So, just properly confusing.
Do with all this, James?
I think really what it's teaching in this is that, yes, you should obey the governing authorities that God has positioned in your life. However, if those governing authorities...
why do they have that? It's like an old-timey lamp. So why do they have an old-timey hurricane lantern? That's what it is, a hurricane lantern. On the table. Are you two going out to after this video to hunt polar bears?
Are enacting law.
Do you hunt polar bears in hurricanes? Is there a lot of polar bears in hurricanes? I thought hurricanes were tropical, right? Polar bears are not tropical, as far as I understand. Except I'm sure they will be because climate change. But
or trying to get you to do something that is against God's laws, the precedence of you obeying God's laws takes over obeying theirs.
Yeah, and that's sketchy and that's hard because who's to decide? I mean, we have these kind of things all the time where you see the guys with the body cams, right, or the phones, and they're like harassing the cops, right? Or they say that they're not harassing the cops. They're just telling the cop off. They're not showing them their license, and they're trying to provoke the cop to have a misuse of the authority of the cops, right? And so then so
have a misuse of authority of the cops.
You have people who they want to say that, no, I'm the one who pays your salary, and I'm the one who's going to decide if what you're doing is right or wrong. But the cop actually is the governing authority who's supposed to be holding them accountable to the law. And so you get into this back and forth.
Okay, so shouldn't the governing authority be more accountable to the law then? Like, isn't that how that should go? Like, they should be above reproach, since, you know, they're there to enforce the law. That means that they should be so much more responsible within the law than, you know, the random people on the street that don't have authority. You don't think maybe that?
This is why it's so difficult.
Yeah, and I think it's really important when we're talking about rebelling against.
How do you think the polar bears got from the Ark to the South Pole? That's the hurricanes. That was good. Yeah, no, that'll whip them right nice. You know, I've seen what tornadoes can do to cows. Remember that? It was the same one. But so, you know, I can only imagine hurricanes, they're so much bigger. It's like a giant tornado just whipping the bears all over.
Like authority, like civil authority, it has to be something that is contrary to the laws of God.
Yeah.
Because disobedience to the governing authorities isn't wrong in and of itself if you're appealing to the higher authority. That's not disobedience of authority. That's actually obedience to the true and only authority, which is God.
That's a really good point. You know what that reminds me of?
Such a good point right there. I mean, I could have told you they were going to go this route. As long as the government doesn't say, you better hate your God and tell them to F off right now, then you got to do what the government says. Sorry. You know, you're the pesky protesters that are trying to get yourselves hurt. You know, that's who you are in this scenario that we just made up just now, because that shit never happened. I don't know what what they're talking about as far as like filming them being mean to the cops, other than I guess there's some videos where like people get pulled over and they're like, I won't show you my ID, and stuff like that. But typically those videos don't work out too great for the people making them, you know. Anyway, here, let's try something else, because I kind of want to see what is going on out in the world, and I haven't paid attention at all today. So it could be kind of fun. What's up, Tons of Mice? How we doing? Said polar bears took the Polar Express. Didn't know they solved it. We figured it out. That's what it was. You're right. Damn Polar Express. Oh, I had Pam Bondi in there yesterday. Okay, hold on. Let me back out of that. Let's restart the whole thing. Yeah. Here we go. Okay. So you go news. This is how you follow what's going on in the world. That Trump stumbles over words in coal award speech fuels health talk. I feel like that was already fueled pretty well and good. It was we were filled up. Okay, if anything, fuel's just fallen on the floor at this point for that particular talk. Epstein survivors accuse AG Bondi of intimidation over unredacted names. Yeah, that's pretty creepy. Let's look at that one. So survivors claim Attorney General Pam Bondi intimidated them by leaving their names unredacted in over 3.5 million what the fuck pages of Epstein files released under the 2025 Transparency Act while protecting powerful men. This is exactly the I feel like, does this count as like the going against stuff that God says or whatever? Are we allowed to go against them because of this, or no? Are we not? We still got to obey them. We got to obey the pedophile ring. We got to do that. Jesus, During a heated hearing, they told NBC News the selective unredactions felt intentional to silence their advocacy, with one victim list blacking out all but one name. Fundie attributed errors to a rushed 30-day review and promised fixes. Amid Democratic demands for apologies and unredacted implicated men, survivors insist it won't stop them. Good. That's great. But I mean, it is really messed up. Let me see here. Let's see here and talk about it a little bit.
I think we all realize now, oh, you guys really wanted to silence us. And you thought that you could scare us by putting our names out there.
And it had a list of victims.
It was shown, I think, a couple of times.
One was redacted. That makes no sense. This is a list of victims. That's intentional.
I think we all realize now, oh.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and that's what's so sick, I think, about this administration is they're just trying to be assholes about this whole thing. So they want the DOJ to respect their privacy, but they are always in front. Oh, so you got MAGA going, they want the DOJ to respect their privacy, but look at them out here in front of the camera. Yeah. Yeah, that's the same. Being in front of the camera, like, and having like your information and stuff out there. My goodness. It was the law, though. They were supposed to protect the victims. That it was against the law what they released. And they weren't legally allowed. If you want to talk about following laws and shit, they weren't legally allowed to redact the names of the co-conspirators and whatnot. And they did. They just redacted a bunch of those names, but then left the names of the victims. The one thing they were supposed to take out, just to be pieces of shit. It's like, wow. This whole situation is really, if people can't see what's happening like now, like, I don't know what to do for you anymore. You're just evil at this point.
One of the posters that I showed was of an email that was titled Epstein Victims List. And there were 32 names on that list. And if you wanted to say that perhaps there were, the list got missed and that's why the names weren't redacted, maybe that would have, been something you could believe, except, Anna, that one of the names was redacted. So clearly somebody looked at that document titled Epstein Victims List, couldn't have been clearer, and decided to only redact one name. At the same time, the other side of this is the pattern of redactions of very powerful people that were part of Epstein's, massive sex trafficking ring that were protected. Their names were redacted. And so I really wanted to show both parts of that and the harm that that does, because the survivors who I've had the privilege of spending time with, they are amazing, courageous women who are continuing to stand up despite re-traumatization. But they really
and now it's like you almost wonder too, because he's got his little lunatic army of ICE thugs, not to mention his kind of like unofficial thugs that he pardoned from January 6th, even though so the ICE ones too, but he just has it where they can take off their masks and also be an unofficial military or a little army or militia, whatever you want to call it. And he's putting their names out there, to a bunch of lunatics that are crazy and will, start giving them death threats and everything else, I'm sure. Not to mention the other super powerful people that are implicated in this whole thing. They're going to target them. And there's like, honestly, there's like nothing scarier than some psychotic, ultra wealthy, ultra powerful person with their focus zeroed in on hating you. That's scary, because there's a lot of shit that they can do that our system kind of just allows for. I mean, billionaires are basically allowed to ruin somebody's life, and you can't do anything about it. You can't hold them accountable because they're able to just sue you for nothing, literally nothing. And if you can't pay for it, then you just get sued. It's sick, but that's the world we live in, I guess. The kind that's ran by psychotic PDF file billionaires.
To be full accountability, and instead what they're getting is what they've gotten since the beginning of the scandal. They're being told to shut up.
It's like QAnon, but the opposite, which is pretty incredible. It's like they were right, but not though. But wrong about all the names.
Up, sit down, and they believe that the deliberate unredaction of their names, the exposure of their names and information, is an attempt to intimidate other survivors from coming forward, because who's going to want their names to be put out there in this way? And that's a permanent harm, not something that can be fixed, even if the Justice Department goes back and redacts those names after the fact.
Yeah, because those are specific names. Those aren't and it's so disgusting. You hear their logic, it'd be like, oh, they just want to be on TV though, as if that's the same thing as having your full name out there, like a face on television to say, to stand against this terrible behavior of these ultra powerful evil people, and then having all of your information out there, which, I mean, these are files that could include like their home addresses and shit. I mean, who the hell knows what other information is in these files that could be extremely sensitive for these people? Jesus. Anyway, all right, let me go back. We'll look at the next one. All right. Body cam footage contradicts DHS account in Chicago shooting of U.S. citizen. There's been now there's one day ago. Good God. I didn't even hear about the Chicago one yet. Okay. Newly released body cam video and agent texts from the October 4th, 2025 incident in Chicago. Okay. I thought this just happened or something. Brighton Park show Border Patrol agent Charles Exum turning into Martinez Gray Nissan Road amid Operation Midway Blitz. God, their names are just never mind. It's just so weird. Contradicting DHS claims of her ramming their vehicle. Agents drew weapons early, feeling boxed in despite a clear path ahead. And Exum later texted colleagues about firing 5 rounds that left her with 7 wounds, earning praise like, "You're a legend." DHS insists officers were ambushed, but no prosecutors dropped charges against Martinez, who plans a lawsuit alleging excessive force as separate investigations probe the shooting. Jesus Christ. But I mean, it's crazy. It's so wild that like the one thing that they're supposed to be, these cops and everything, Department of Homeland Security is DHS, but like the one thing they're supposed to be is like honest about the evidence. They are the authority. They're supposed to be held to a higher accountability than random people, but we constantly see them proving, like, more than not, it's almost like you can just decide that the cops are lying and then just wait for the evidence to come out every single time, because that seems to be how it just constantly goes. It's like the official way they do stuff. But this is crazy. But now it's like, it's like every time, like, what kind of gut? What is that? Wow, dude. That's the gun.
Outside Chicago neighborhood. 2 have
cameras on.
This is newly released body camera video. A team of 3 Border Patrol agents is driving through a Southside Chicago neighborhood. 2 have guns drawn.
Why? They have and not just any gun. Those are fuck, those are like commando guns, dude. Like, what the hell is happening?
Marimar Martinez, an American citizen and school teacher, is driving next to them, honking her horn, warning people to the president.
Yeah, violent police state is here, 100%. Oh yeah, I mean, and it's getting. I mean, it's gonna get. It is getting worse as well. I would say, because I don't know. They just because it seems like this the way it works is Trump does this crazy boundary testing shit. And like, and then everybody's like, "Oh man, it's all over, it's all here." And then they back off a little bit and like ease up. No, it's okay. We're gonna still act like stuff is normal, sort of. Sometimes, kind of, not really, but let's just. What else we got to do? Because nobody's doing anything about it. And then he goes, "What?" And he ramps up again, does some other insane shit, and then people reacts rationally, like being terrified. And then they, hold on, quiet it down. And it's just an inching and inching closer and closer to the Empire in Star Wars. Like I feel like that's where we've gotten. And now with the Epstein stuff, I swear to God, I'm just like waiting for him any day now to just be like, we're just going to have the military take over the whole country. We're just going to send the military to every city. We're going to put some tanks inside the streets of every town. We got enough of them. We our military is worth like trillions, so we got tons of tanks, and they're just sitting there. We could use them, at least driving around some cities and stuff, to keep everybody in line. I feel like that any second now. Watch. Jesus. Oh, whoops.
Cameras on. This is.
All right, we're fine now. All right, out of the car. Be advised, we've been struck.
Martinez was shot 5 times and survived. In this surveillance video, you can see the front of the agent's SUV come to a stop. 4 seconds later, Martinez's silver Nissan drives off, she says, fearing for her life. The Department of Homeland Security was quick to accuse her of attacking federal law enforcement, saying Border Patrol agents were...
definitely no attacking happened there. What the fuck? But see, and you can hear them like lying because they know they've got this problem too. They've got the cameras on them, and so they'll say stuff like there was the one time that the lady, she like shouted out taser as she grabbed her gun and shot a dude more times than just emptied the clip on this dude after yelling taser. Like that would they would cancel it out. Like, oh, I thought I was getting my taser. That's why I said taser. I thought that's, Power Rangers do that sort of thing all the time. And I thought it was cool. So I just thought I would be like them and sort of just shout out what I'm using. What the fuck? What are you talking about? Like, it's so clear they're like trying to like manipulate the thing. It reminds me of Training Day. Remember Training Day? They did that shit. They were like doing setups and everything. And they'd be like, okay, you got to shoot this guy right here. And then we're going to say that. And it's like they manipulate this situation and they manipulate the evidence to make it seem like it's some other thing. So they can get away with shit.
Quote, ambushed by domestic terrorists that rammed federal agents with their vehicles. FBI Director Kash Patel posted on social media about the incident, quote, attack our law enforcement and this FBI will find you and bring you to justice. The post also included a link to video of a car ramming, but it had no connection to Martinez's case.
Oh my God.
And the body camera video tells a different story.
So he posted wow, what pieces of shit, man. So he posted a video of somebody getting rammed and was like, you do this, you're getting shot. No, that's not the video that has anything. That's just a random, that was just from that show Cops. I just really like that show. I tape it sometimes. And so I save some of the videos. Anyway, but I'm just saying that's the type of thing that you better not do. What the fuck? Clearly he was trying to get people to think that was what happened. God, they're such just crazy liars. Unbelievable.
In the lead up to the collision, you hear agents say they are going to collide with Martinez.
We're going to make contact and we're boxed in.
And just before the moment of impact, it's Agent Charles Exum who sharply turns his steering wheel in the direction of Martinez. Proof, according to her attorney, that they hit her vehicle, not the other way around. And as for the claim of being boxed in,
see. They slammed. I see. Yeah. Damn, that's crazy. Yep. They definitely were the ones doing it. And you could see it. You could see it when he did it. He like turned really fast to hit it. Wow. Unbelievable. Theo said if you compare the US with Star Wars, with the Star Wars Empire, I must ask, who is the teacher and who is the student? Oh, well, yeah, that's a tough question. I don't think we have any teachers here. I'm going to be honest. I think every student, it's blind leading the blind. Students leading students. Everybody thinks they're teachers, which is also a problem. But no teachers actually exist. They're just all very pompous students that are also PDF file brain damaged nutbags.
this surveillance video calls that comment into question, with nothing in the path ahead of the border agent's vehicle. The court also released text messages and emails from after the shooting, including one message from Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino, just hours after the incident, offering to delay the retirement of Agent Exum, who
the Nazi man himself, dressing like a Nazi,
shot Martinez. In light of your excellent service in Chicago, you have much left to do. And then a text message exchange between Agent Exum and someone whose name was redacted. Are they supportive? Someone asked. Big time.
What are the Padawans for the Sith? I don't. Didn't they did have like Padawan, but I don't think they called it that, right? I think it was just teacher and student, I feel like. Or not student. What is it? Apprentice. That's the right word. Ironically, the name of the television show of the true Emperor face melty purple guy is just orange in real life and not purple.
Everyone has been, including Chief Bovino, Chief Banks, Secretary Nome, and El Jefe himself. In various texts to and from fellow agents, the mood was celebratory.
One of the best guitarists ever, dude. I mean, that lick that he does for seeing double at the Triple Rock, whoa. That is it. El Jefe is the fucking shit, dude.
Good job, brother. You are a legend among agents. You better effing know that. Beers on me when I see you at training. That's awesome. You did real good. Damn it, man. Good shooting. The day after the shooting, Martinez was indicted. Wow. According to the complaint, she, quote, forcibly assaulted.
Who says stuff like that? I mean, you would think that like they would have some kind of humanity in that, like just being like, cool, man, shot another unarmed person. Badass, bro. Badass. We were so cool. I love shooting unarmed people. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? You're not heroes.
Resisted, opposed, impeded, intimidated, and interfered with an officer of the United States. After her attorney viewed the body camera footage and other evidence emerged that undermined the government's version of events, prosecutors made an extraordinary move and asked the judge to drop their own case. The judge agreed, but not long after, she told me the shooting still haunts her.
I don't want to remember that day. You're laying there at night and you're just thinking about it, like, what's gonna happen? Like, it's really emotional to me. So it's like, it's hard for me to talk about it, but I'm trying.
And that's part of why Martinez pushed to get all of this information out, because she believed it allows people to have a greater understanding of how agents might react after something like this, no matter the city, and to further clear her name, because the Department of Homeland Security has never retracted its accusations against Martinez, even after the case was dropped. Now,
they do not care. This is the crazy part about these people. They do not care at all about other humans. They don't care about their And they don't care how many lives they ruin. They just don't give a shit. There was one dude that was an Army veteran, was married to an American citizen, had, worked in the U.S. for something like 20 years, and he had a work visa, whatever, and I think they changed the rules, which made his immigration status pending, and they deported him over that. Been here his whole life, married to an American citizen, hadn't been to his home country, and I don't even know how long. And they detained him for like 8 months or something, because he was like I'm supposed to be getting my green card, so just whatever, detain me and then I'll just get it real quick. But because they're holding everything up on purpose so that they can just deport people that are actually legal citizens, because they're the ones that grant people their citizenship, and so they can just not do that if they don't want to, and then just deport him. And he ended up being deported after 8 months of thinking, hey, it's any second now, I'm going to get, and he'd rather do that, obviously, than get deported to a place he hasn't been in 3 decades. Jesus Christ, these people. Could you imagine that happening to you? Just your loved one just being just detained for 8 months over just not having paperwork. That's insane.
The shooting agent, Charles Exum, Customs and Border Protection, said he's been placed on what was described as routine administrative leave pending further investigation. Anderson.
Jesus. Insane. All right, let's check out some other stories, and then we'll do one more. But yeah, so the cops lying. Yep. Okay. Next story. Bondi grilled over Epstein files, redactions, intense hearing. We saw a lot of that yesterday. Judge blocks Hegseth from demoting Senator Kelly over military video. Oh, that's good, because that was psychotic. Holy shit. So there was a video that Senator Kelly put out, Kelly and a couple others, where they basically just said, hey, if there's an illegal thing that you're asked to do in the military, you don't have to do it. If they ask you to do something illegal, don't do it. Just don't do the illegal stuff. Crazy, that's a wild thing to say. Don't do illegal stuff, and it's wild that you would expect that from your military leaders. But they tried to demote Hegseth, basically tried to demote Senator Kelly, and cut his pay, his retirement pay, for having said that, as if it was some kind of attack. It was like, but it's not politically motivated. No, it's not that. It's just, hey, we got to demote him for saying not to do illegal stuff. And you can't say that about the Trump administration. The Trump administration has to do illegal stuff. That's all the stuff. That's the only stuff there is for this administration. And now you're gonna lose your retirement. Jesus Christ. U.S. District Judge Richard J. Leon issued a preliminary injunction halting Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's censure and demotion threat against Senator Mark Kelly, ruling it violated the Arizona Democrats' First Amendment rights. It did. The dispute arose from a November 2025 video by Kelly and 5 other Democrats urging service members they could refuse illegal orders, a message rooted in military law amid post-election concerns. Yeah. The other thing that's really crazy is all of the pieces that they're kind of moving into place right now to clearly try to cheat in the election coming up. Which, I mean, I think we have, it's so funny. Most of us just expected that. Like, that's how shitty shit is at this point. We're just expecting, like, yeah, of course he's going to try to steal the election. What do you mean? It's Trump. That's sort of his whole bag. That's like, that's what he does. He tries to steal elections. And it's kind of funny in like a toddler is funny kind of way. He does it by saying that everybody else is trying to steal elections, you know, like as long as he says it, then nobody else can, I guess. Right? That's how it goes. You can't say it about him if he's already said it about everybody, you know, like a 2-year-old would think, right? Jesus, unbelievable. It's just like the idea. Yeah, basically. Every single time they say they did stuff, it's like the opposite. It comes out and oh, a video. Yeah. See, it wasn't like what they said at all. Apparently the voter ID thing. Did that pass? Oh God, that would just irritate the hell out of me. Because like the other thing they're trying to do is keep women from voting. Because women always vote against Republicans. And so the way that they can kind of eliminate a large portion of women voters from being able to vote is if the ID law is put through and you have to have a matching name on the voter registry, whatever. So anybody that's either been married and changed their name or changed their name back after having been married and it doesn't match, sorry, you don't get the right to vote anymore. Yep. Hey, you know, immigrants, though, because they're voted or whatever, they're not, but they're going to say they are so that they can do all this shit to try to make it so that hardly anybody even bothers to go out and vote, which should tell you that the Republicans do not care about the will of the people at all. But, you know, what do I know? So I'd be lying if I said that kind of call hasn't been made before. I don't know exactly what call you're talking about. See, yeah, this is their man. I knew it. Illegal migrants might vote. No, only citizens can vote. Then voters should prove they are citizens. No, that's racist. How the fuck do you prove? Like, what do I need to do then? See, all you're doing is making it so that everybody else has to do all this stuff. And it's the same shit they were trying to pull with the medical, you know, and be like, oh, well, they don't get medical care or whatever. And turned out what they were talking about was not that, that they were getting benefits from Obamacare. What they were talking about was information that was gathered from hospitals, because they were saying that hospitals shouldn't treat unconscious people until they figure out if they're definitely a citizen or not, which is insane. We have the rule is hospitals heal or do initial, what do they call it? Initial, basic life-saving stuff to everybody, no matter what. Whether you have insurance, don't have insurance, homeless, doesn't matter. ID, no ID, they help you. That's just because it's more important that they get the job done first and then sort it out afterwards, right? Just save the person's life and then we'll figure it out after. No, they want them to, no, don't do anything until they know they're a citizen. And we're like, no, you can't do that, dude. Do you know how many people would die for that? And of course, Republicans don't give a shit about that. They're like, yeah, exactly. Well, we'd actually like it if people could die. Yeah, that'd be great. Especially the immigrants, just all of them. So basically, you're making it so that any person that might be an immigrant doesn't get to get immediate life-saving care from a hospital without proof that they're. So yeah, all brown and black people are going to be, hold up, we got to wait. Sorry. We got to. Do they have a birth certificate? It's like, do you know how many people don't know where the fuck their birth certificate is? Holy shit. God damn, these people suck. It's just like the worst. These are just the worst people. And they're in charge of shit. and they're all stupid. It's so frustrating. All right, y'all. Well, I think we made it through at least the big stuff, the big news items that I know everybody's just aching to learn about. Y'all doing okay? Feeling okay? Did I bring you down? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. So, you know, so I have a talent for that, really. But, and also, hey, tomorrow, Helen, we're raising money for Helen. Okay. And it's going to be awesome. And you need to be there and help and donate and all that good stuff. So we're going to be posting the link for that stream, and it's going to be great. But yeah, everybody's going to be there too. It's going to be great. Can't wait. Let's see. I needed a fresh copy for my passport. Okay, well, you don't. Well, everybody else doesn't. All right, Ember. How the hell do you know? Oh, I guess because you said you needed it for anything. Thank you. There it is. There we go. Yep. 6 p.m. EST. Be there tomorrow. Be there or be scared. Hey, what's up, Edger? Let's go. Face gets degloved. Go find your birth certificate first. Gets degloved. All right, y'all. Well, hey, thanks again for hanging out. If you want to support the show, there's a really great way to do that is to just, smack that like button, right in the button, just smack it right in the button, just that thing right in the button. Okay. Sorry, pound that thing right in the, okay, stop. But yeah, and if you don't, if that's a bit too graphic for you to hit the like button and you want to do something else, there's a bunch of stuff you can do here, right? You become a patron at patreon.com/punkapostate. Cash app, cash tag is punkapostate. Become a member by hitting that subscribe button, and then the join button right after that. You can email me at punkapostate@gmail.com. Tell me, what more stuff you want to see, type of shit you want to talk about, stuff like that. Maybe you disagree with something I said. Let me know. I want to hear about it. If I get anything wrong, tell me. I want to know. Yeah, join the Discord. There's a link in the description. So yeah, just do all that stuff. It's going to be worth it. Promise. But hey, the main thing though is to stay logical, stay loving, skeptical, and compassionate. And we will see you next time. Y'all are beautiful. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. EST. You better be there. I mean it.